I was out working in my garden last night, in fact, hoeing a few weeds. I've got a lot of weeds popping up all over the place. It just seems like this year is the year for the weeds because they just have invaded my garden. But as I was out there hoeing, I noticed a deer had come along and nibbled the tops off of my bush beans that are really just starting to produce like crazy. And deer are a consistent problem in our garden, whether they're eating our tomatoes or whether they're eating our beans, or they massacred my pumpkins and squashes last year to the point where I only got probably 25% of what was produced because the deer had damaged so much. So this year we're taking precautions to try and stop the deer before they do a lot of damage to our harvest. And there's a lot of different ways we can do that. What we're going to use, since we have such a large garden, is we're going to use some netting. And we're going to use a netting very similar to this. This is a 7-foot wide and 100-foot long. It's made for fencing, and so you can actually use it to fence off your garden and keep the deer out. So it's 100 feet long, and so you could do a garden 25 by 25 and have a 7-foot tall fence all the way around the garden, keep the deer out, and that works very, very well. My father's done it for quite a few years, and we've protected some of the vital plants that the deer really like to eat. But you can also use the net just to cover your plants with as well. So you can just lay the net over the top of, say, your beans or your squashes and keep the deer out, because they don't like to eat through the net. The squares are really small, and this is just a nylon netting, allows water to pass through. It's very light and easy to work with, and they come in a lot of different sizes. So not only do we have 7 by 100, but we've got 30 by 30 and 7 by 21 and 14 by 14, a lot of different sizes, so you don't have to necessarily cut it to get it to work in your garden. They work really quite nicely. We also have, this is one of my favorite products of all time. This is called the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow is a motion sensitive sprinkler. So you hook it up to your hose, turn your hose on, and when it picks up the motion of animals like deer or even raccoons, it will turn on. And it just turns on briefly, just for maybe 10 seconds, but it sprays water out, and it's a rainbird style, so it does make a lot of noise, so it's kind of a sound. And so it's nice and calm and quiet, and the deer are out nibbling and browsing on plants. All of a sudden the sprinkler kicks on. Not only does it scare deer and raccoons, but it scares people really quite well. And we've had very good results with dogs and cats also, if you've had any dog or cat problems. But the Scarecrow lasts a long time, does a great job. The motion sensor picks up that movement, turns the sprinkler on, scares anybody away from your area that you're trying to protect. Works great in the garden, and it doesn't stay on for very long, just long enough to make some noise and spray some cold water around to get everybody to start running. So the Scarecrow works great. There are some traditional repellents that work exceptionally well also. So we're looking at Animal Stopper from Messina and the Deer Stopper, which comes in a liquid or in a granule, depending on which one works the best for you. The granule, this will cover about 1,000 to 1,500 square feet, so a pretty good sized garden. It's a little small granule that you can just sprinkle around in areas. Works very well for smaller plants. The deer will come in and eat the tops off my carrots. Works great for that. This would work really well on the bush beans, but if it's a taller plant, in the 3-4 foot range, or pole beans where the deer like to come in and nibble on the pole beans, probably might not work very well in that location because it's more on the ground. So this will work very well around some smaller plants, maybe 2-3 feet tall at the most. If you have taller plants, then you'll definitely want to go with the liquid, and it comes in a ready to use form. I'll slide that over. It comes in a ready-to-use form, or it comes in a concentrate, so you can mix up your own. And the great thing about the Deer Stopper is it's totally non-toxic. It won't hurt the deer, unfortunately, but it also won't hurt people or pets or kids. Very effective. It doesn't smell bad. In fact, it really has kind of got a pleasant smell for being a repellent. It doesn't really repel people, but you use about a quart to make about 3 gallons of spray. It lasts about a month, so you get about 4 weeks of control out of it, and it works best. What we found is if you spray once, wait about 3 or 4 days, give it time to dry, do a second application, and then it's going to last for about a month after that, and it makes the plants taste bad and also smell not repulsive, but that repels the deer. They just don't like the smell of it, but it doesn't bother people. So it's kind of a minty rosemary smell to it. So it's really not too bad, but very effective on keeping the deer away and safe for you to use and long lasting. So a really good product. So there's a lot of different options out there, whether it's a granulated or a liquid repellent. We've got nets and fencing that will work very nicely. We also have some really nifty little devices like the Scarecrow to keep deer and other pests out of your yard.